Hello, football fans. Welcome to Frisco, Texas. I'm Tobin McDuff, and I'm going to be joined by Mickey Spagnola in just a moment. The Dallas Cowboys tonight, they have the 26th pick in the first round of the NFL Draft. What are they going to do with that pick? I have been saying all along, I'm going to promise you three things. Let's make it four things. They're not going to take a quarterback. They're not going to take a center. They're not going to take a safety, and they're not going to take a kicker. Everything else I'm going to leave up to our Cowboys insider, Mickey Spagnola. So no pressure, Mickey.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, no pressure on the Cowboys because they've prepared for this draft. They've filled in spots on their roster that they needed to. And so they can just kind of sit back and let the draft come to them because there's nothing that they got to say, I just need that. They've covered themselves. And as they like to say, this is about as pure a draft as we've had, and we're just going to follow the board.
Let's talk about a couple of positions, though, just because a lot of people have talked about the need for a tight end. And although I'm really good with them taking a tight end in the first three rounds, are they desperate for a tight end? Because I kind of feel like Jake Ferguson's going to have a breakout year this year.
Yeah, I do too. I think Jake Ferguson had a really good rookie year. I think Peyton Hendershot was somebody that came out of nowhere, and they knew about him. He had an ankle deal in college his last year, and he fell right out of the draft. And they got a guy like that that's a vertical threat at tight end. Now, here's what they need. They need it. If they get a tight end, it's got to be a versatile tight end, a guy with some speed, but also a guy that can block on the line of scrimmage. They did not have enough blocking efficiency from the tight ends. Because if you think about it, they like to go two tight ends a lot. They like to go three tight ends a lot. Well, if your idea is to run out of that, those tight ends better be able to block. And so I think that's got to be one of the talents if they take a tight end that they need to have. But if they had to play tomorrow, they can play with the tight ends they have now. That's why, I don't know if the two top guys that are kind of ranked by everybody, Mayer along with Kincaid,
right.
I don't know if they even make it to the Cowboys. But after that, there's a guy that maybe somewhat of a sleeper, Sam Laporta. He's a tight end, Iowa, and they like him. So we'll see if that means they like him in the first round or if they like him in the second round.
And I'm a fan of Tucker Kraft out of South Dakota State, but he'd probably be a third-round selection if the Cowboys went that way. As you said, though, the biggest priority for them, Jake Ferguson's an outstanding pass catcher, and he's a good route runner. So whoever they do draft, they're going to draft a tight end, I think, at some point.
So, yes.
But they're going to take someone that is a good blocker.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
Priority number one.
And there's another, and I know this one's a long shot, Darnell Washington, Georgia. He is 6'7", 270 pounds as a tight end. Now, he's not a polished receiver, but I bet from the 10-yard line in, he's pretty polished at 6'7", right? Just throw it up, right?
I wouldn't know, Mickey.
Yeah, right? And the other thing is, he's a really good blocker. So my idea is he's a guy that will have an incline. He can get better. But the meantime, while he's trying to get as a receiver, he can be a blocker for you. And some people think eventually he's going to turn into an offensive tackle. But it's not a complete package. But if you get to 26 and you're going, I don't know about this. What about a guy that has a high plateau, right? So keep an eye on that guy, too, wherever he goes. He may be a second-round pick, but you know what? He won't be a second-round pick for the Cowboys at 58 because he will be gone.
Well, let's talk about the running back position now, because Bijan Robinson's name has been tossed around a lot because he's an amazing back out of Texas. But the likelihood of him dropping to 26, it's not very good. If the Cowboys were going to get him, he would have to drop, and the Cowboys would probably still have to trade up.
Yeah.
So is a running back in the works here in the first 2 days?
Oh, I think so. I think they need somebody that they would like to compete with other running backs they have. Okay, Tony Pollard's great. You got Malik Davis and Rico Dowdle. Now, neither one of those guys were drafted. They came to the Cowboys as undrafted free agents. So if you're going to take a running back, not named Bijan Robinson, that guy has to be, in my book, better than the other 2 running backs they have. You need somebody to pair with Tony Pollard, because I don't know that he's ready or capable to be the guy that's going to touch the ball 25 times a game. He's never done that in his college career at Memphis or with the Cowboys. So they need a complimentary back, and let Tony Pollard do what he does. An explosive back that maybe if you overuse him, that speed goes away. And the surprise element of his speed goes away. So yeah, a running back somewhere in that first round, or the second or third round, even if it's not the first. The Gibbs kid from Alabama is good. I don't know if he's that guy that can play that many plays. You got Kendry Miller, TCU. They brought him in for a visit, so that's a possibility. And then Devon Achane. Boy, this guy can run. Matter of fact, I saw him in the A&M game against LSU when he ran for, I don't know, was it 400 yards?
And Aggie fans would love to see him in a Cowboys uniform.
Absolutely. And now he's not big, but he carried the load at A&M, right? And his speed, oh my, does that give you another development at that offensive position where, okay, you got Pollard, but now we're going to bring in this guy. Now, which one are you worried about? And again, what if they're both on the field at the same time?
And then and the possibility too at running back is that they could be bringing in guys as undrafted free agents. They could be free agents that are NFL players waiting for a spot, or even maybe bring someone in from the XFL just to compete.
And to emphasize Tobin's point, Tony Pollard's only on a 1-year deal. He's a franchise player. So this will be his 5th year. Are they going to re-sign him and to a multi-year deal going into his 6th year? Well, maybe not. And so now if you have a running back that you can lean on, you got him for next year, and you're already seasoned him in 2023.
Okay, I want to backtrack just a little bit and go back to the tight end position and ask you a question, because you mentioned, the Cowboys have shown that they run a lot of 2 tight end and 3 tight end plays, offenses, but now that it's different, it's Kellen Moore's gone. Are they going to change that at all, do you foresee, this year?
I don't think so. If you look at Mike McCarthy's history at Green Bay, not only did he like his tight ends, he liked a fullback too. Now, a fullback is hard to find, right? No one grows up and says, I want to be a fullback in college, right? That doesn't happen. So the colleges in the games they're playing now haven't developed fullbacks. You almost got to find a position that fits the fullback mold and train them, right? A lot of times it's a linebacker, right? Last year it was Connor McGovern, your starting offensive guard, until he started. Then you didn't have one, right? McCarthy continues to talk about how they want to emphasize the running game. So, and they emphasized it last year. As a matter of fact, what people don't understand is the Cowboys ran the ball more last year than they have in the previous 6, 7, 8 years. So it wasn't like Kellen Moore was just pass happy. He liked to run the ball, and McCarthy wants to emphasize that they need to run the ball better.
Okay, now looking ahead to tonight's pick, which probably, like I said, is going to happen somewhere between 10:15 and 10:30 tonight. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball. Wouldn't be surprised if they take a cornerback. Wouldn't be surprised if they take a linebacker. Wouldn't be surprised if they take a defensive end.
Right.
Any of those 3 positions are really up for grabs.
Right, and the defensive end spot is always a priority pick in the first round. You value the defensive end. Can't have enough of them. And they've got 2 of their defensive ends this year on 1-year deals. Dorrance Armstrong, Dante Fowler Jr. They're on 1-year deals. So after that, you got Sam Williams, you got DeMarcus Lawrence, and then what? So again, that guy may be a rotation guy this year, and then next year he will be challenging maybe for a starting spot, or at least to be in the top 3. So yeah, defensive ends in the first round are always worth the value. And again, when they're drafting 26, and we talked about this earlier, they really only have 15 guys with first round grades, right? So 26 is almost like a second-round pick. So I think that opens the door for basically whatever, because essentially it's a second-round grade on whoever you're taking at 26, unless somebody falls that you don't expect, Bijan Robinson.
And finally, Mickey, I mean, this year's draft is different than a lot of past years because in the past years there have been more glaring needs for the Cowboys, and this year they're really drafting out of a luxury of being able to pick the best player available. And they're not just drafting for this year, they're drafting for next year as well and creating that depth because so many roster spots are going to open up next year. The Cowboys have a lot of decisions to make after the next offseason.
No, and one of the reasons those spots could open up is all of a sudden these guys got too expensive. Like, there's a salary cap, and it's real. And as I like to tell people, you can't have a steak on every plate, right? Sometimes you got to have a hamburger, and it's got to be good, right? So you got to develop guys. So that's why I look at the guard position. You know, if they would happen to take an offensive lineman in the first round, I mean, they took one last year, right? They've got 3 first-round picks on the offensive line if you count Tyler Smith, Zach Martin. How many first-round picks can you have on your offensive line, right? So, but if you find a tackle who can play guard, then you have a tackle ready for when the tackles get too expensive for you. Or they say, you know what, we can't afford Terrence Steele. We like him, but he's going to want a multi-million-dollar deal, and somebody's going to pay him a lot of money. Oh, well, I got this guy averaging $3.34 million I got in the first round. He's ready to play tackle for me on the right side. So there's a lot of that goes into some of the decisions they make at certain positions.
And what Mickey said, you know, just bringing up the offensive line, I would not be shocked at all if the Cowboys take 2 offensive linemen out of their 7 picks because we've seen what the Cowboys need in the past because when they've had injuries, the offensive line has really struggled.
No, and if you look back to last year when Terrence Steele went out and they had 4 more games to play, the running game lost its efficiency and lost it in that second playoff game too. So they really missed one of their best run blockers. Now, Tyron Smith stepped in, but he hadn't played all year, right? He wasn't ready to play right tackle, but he did it, tried his best. Now, if you get Steele back on time this year, and you got Tyler Smith at left tackle where they really want to keep him, all of a sudden you got a 7-time Pro Bowler as your swing tackle, and they've never had that right because when they've lost a tackle previously, it's like, oh my.
It's been a revolving door.
Yes, it has.
Excellent. That's going to do it from outside the Ford Center. The NFL draft getting underway now. Again, the Dallas Cowboys with the 26th pick in the first round of this year's NFL draft. The Cowboys should select somewhere between 10:15 and 10:30. That'll do it from here outside the Ford Center.